Sometimes, kindness doesn't wear a halo. Sometimes, it wears a black leather jacket, rides a Harley, and carries a heart full of scars. That afternoon, sunlight streamed through the wide glass windows of a small grocery store on the edge of town. Everything looked ordinary. Shoppers moved quietly, carts squeaked, the hum of refrigerators filled the air. Yet, hidden between the aisles stood two children who didn't belong to the world of comfort surrounding them. The little girl clutched a gallon of milk as though it was life itself, and beside her, a boy no older than 7 stood protectively, watching every face that passed. Their clothes were worn, their shoes too small, and their eyes, those quiet, beautiful eyes, carried a story far heavier than their age. They weren't thieves. They weren't beggars. They were survivors of a world that had forgotten them. And when a group of tattooed bikers, men whose mere presence made people move aside, walked into that store, no one could have imagined that those hardened souls were about to become the heroes of a story that would restore faith in humanity. This isn't a story about wealth or pity, it's a story about heart. About 2 small hands holding on to hope, and 3 rough hands learning that redemption can arrive in the smallest, most unexpected moments. Because sometimes, kindness doesn't whisper. It roars. The grocery store was unusually still that afternoon. Dust motes danced lazily in the sunlight, drifting across shelves stacked neatly with cereal boxes and cans of soup. It was the kind of quiet that made small sounds, like the distant beep of the cash register. Echo like church bells. Near the dairy aisle stood 2 children who didn't belong in such a polished world. Their names were Evan and Maisie, brother and sister, 7 and 5. Evan's shirt had a tear near the shoulder. Maisie's dress was faded, one sleeve slightly frayed. But none of that mattered to them. What mattered was the milk, the one thing Evan believed might make his sister feel better. Maisie had been coughing for days. The kind of cough that keeps a child awake at night, her small body trembling with each breath. Their mother used to give her warm milk before bed, but since their parents had died in a car accident a year ago, comfort was a luxury they no longer knew. Now they lived behind an old, abandoned gas station on the edge of town, in a rusted trailer that groaned whenever the wind passed through its cracks. Most nights, they shared a can of beans and a single piece of bread. But this morning, Evan made a promise. We'll get you milk today. I don't know how, but we will. So they walked 2 miles in the cold morning air, Maisie's small hand wrapped in his, and now, they stood in front of that gallon of milk, trying to decide whether to take it or walk away. Evan wasn't a thief. He'd seen what stealing did to people. It took more than it gave. But his sister's pale face told him that morals didn't fill an empty stomach. As they hesitated, the automatic doors at the front hissed open. The sound was followed by the deep, synchronized thud of boots. 3 men walked in, each one broad-shouldered, dressed in black leather vests marked with a flaming skull and wings. Across the back, in bold letters, the emblem read, "Hell's Angels." The atmosphere shifted instantly. Shoppers looked away. Mothers steered their children aside. The air seemed to grow heavier with each step. They took down the aisle. The front was Rex Malone. The leader, tall, bearded, eyes sharp but weary, tattoos winding down his arms like stories of pain and redemption. Behind him were Cole, the quiet one with a scar down his jaw, and Maverick, whose laughter used to shake bars but now only echoed in silence. When Rex saw the 2 children blocking the aisle, he slowed. Something about them, the way the little girl clutched the milk, the boy's tiny frame standing guard, stopped him. He crouched down, his leather creaking softly, and looked Evan straight in the eyes. "Hey kid," he said, his voice gravelly but calm. "You lost." Evan swallowed. "No," he said quietly. We don't have money for this milk. My sister's sick. Can you pay for it? I promise we'll pay you back when we grow up." For a moment, no one moved. The hum of the refrigerators filled the silence. Rex stared at him, caught between disbelief and something deeper, something human. That kind of bravery didn't belong to most adults, let alone a child. Behind him, Cole and Maverick exchanged glances, waiting for a reaction. Finally, Rex nodded slowly. "What's your name, kid?" "Evan." Rex stood, took the milk gently from Maisie's small hands, and walked toward the counter. He didn't just pay for the milk, he filled a bag with bread, fruit, cereal, and cookies. When he returned, he handed the bag to Evan. The boy's lip trembled. "We'll pay you back," he whispered again. Rex placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. "You don't owe me anything," he said softly. "Just grow up good. That's how you pay me back." As the children left, clutching their treasures like gold, Rex felt something stir inside him. A memory he'd long buried. He saw himself, years ago, standing in a similar store, hungry, barefoot, staring at food he couldn't afford. A man had helped him once. He never forgot. Days passed, but that moment haunted him. He kept thinking about those children, the courage in the boy's voice, the quiet trust in the girl's eyes. One afternoon, he rode back to the store and asked the clerk if he'd seen them. The man nodded. "Yeah," he said. "They come sometimes. Never steal. Just look. Think they live near the old gas station." Rex didn't wait. He and his crew rode out to the edge of town, their engines roaring through the empty road like thunder rolling in from a distant storm. When they reached the gas station, they saw the trailer, rusted, broken, barely standing. Evan was outside, trying to fix a leaking pipe with an old bucket. Maisie sat nearby, coughing softly, but she smiled when she saw the bikes. Evan's eyes widened. "We said we'll pay you back," he said, his voice shaking. "We're saving bottles." Rex crouched again, that same soft look in his eyes. "I didn't come for that," he said quietly. He turned to his crew. "We're fixing this place." And they did. Over the next week, the roar of Harley engines became the sound of hope. Cole patched the roof. Maverick painted the walls. Rex replaced the broken windows and brought food every morning. The kids laughed again, real laughter that echoed through the once empty lot. Rex even found a local social worker who helped enroll them in a nearby community program that offered schooling and meals. By the end of the week, the trailer looked different, brighter, warmer, alive. When it was all done, Maisie ran up and hugged Rex's leg. Evan handed him a small envelope. Inside were a few coins and crumpled bills. "We still owe you," the boy said shyly. Rex smiled, took the envelope, then tucked it right back into Evan's pocket. "Keep it," he said. "Use it when someone else needs help. That's how you pay me back." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the bikers started their engines. The sound filled the air like a symphony of power and freedom. Evan and Maisie waved as they rode off, the light of the setting sun catching on the chrome of their bikes. That night, Rex sat outside his garage, staring at the stars. He thought about the two children and realized that maybe kindness wasn't about grand gestures or perfect people. Sometimes it came from the broken, from those who had felt pain deep enough to understand someone else's. And in that moment, he whispered to himself, "Maybe I needed them more than they needed me." If the story touched your heart, if it reminded you that even the toughest souls can carry the softest hearts, then share it. Because kindness doesn't always wear a smile. Sometimes, it rides on two wheels and changes lives in silence. And that day, in a forgotten corner of the world, a gallon of milk became a miracle.